Welcome. This is Christine Perret. I'm the chair of the Area Research Committee and I lead the Interoperability and Standards program. Welcome to today's webinar on the topic of mixed AR user experience evaluation methods. It's August 12th, 2020. I'm delighted to be chairing today's webinar. Just by way of introduction, all attendees are on mute. And we will be hearing today from Dr. Jamil Hussain from Korea. If you have any questions during the webinar, I recommend that you use your question panel in the GoToWebinar control panel. For the first few minutes, I'll be introducing the area, the AR for Enterprise Alliance. Then we will have a presentation and take your questions at the end. So for those of you who are not familiar yet with the AR for Enterprise Alliance, we are an industry organization driving the development of an ecosystem focusing on enterprise augmented reality. At the top of this pyramid, this triangle, are enterprises who can use augmented reality to improve performance, increase reliability, reduce risks, and other benefits. They are currently implementing augmented reality in different use cases and at different stages in their journey. The enterprises are supported by the two other groups of members of the area, the providers of technology and the non-commercial entities. The providers of technologies develop services as well as tools and technologies that then can be deployed within these enterprise use cases and enterprise environments. The providers of technologies and the enterprises collaborate in many different ways with non-commercial entities such as universities, research institutes, and other forms of research groups to really push and advance AR technology at a research level. So these three segments of the ecosystem are continuously working together with the support of the area. We do that, we support this ecosystem development through our 4 initiatives. We create a lot of neutral, high quality content. We call that our thought leadership role. It includes many different forms, including these webinars that are recorded and you can listen to at your leisure and share with others that you think could value. We also have a very well-developed website for publishing our thought leadership. In addition, the website is a place for networking, and we also organize events and other community support initiatives so that people who have experience can share theirs with those who are just getting started. And we also try to develop partnerships and drive adoption. The area also supports programs that will reduce the skills gap. In other words, that will increase the number of people who have the skills necessary to implement and train and maintain enterprise augmented reality systems. And finally, we have committees, including the committee focusing on research, but other committees that focus on safety, security, and human factors that help to reduce the barriers to adoption. So that's a little summary of the AR for Enterprise Alliance. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Jamil Hussain, who is speaking to us from, as I mentioned, the evening hours in Korea. Thank you, Jamil, for joining us. And would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you very much, Christine, for having me here and everybody tuning from all over the world for being here today. As Christine mentioned, I am a UX designer in the UC Lab. If you're not familiar with the UC Lab, uh, UC Lab is a research lab that is working on different projects, research projects related to the user experience and healthcare and wellness domain. Uh, in the today topic, I will cover mainly about this project called Linux Experience Platform. Um, First of all, I will briefly explain about what is the user experience and what is uh, the Linux platform. Um, as we know that we are experiencing in every day different product. We interact with a different product like a website application to achieve a different goal by performing a different task. While interacting with any product, we feel some emotions, and when the person interacting with any product, um, he at the end he will experience either the positive experience, either the negative experience. As we first, I will explain about the context of use. What the context of use is, because the context of use is the main ingredient of the any user experience product. Actually, context of use mainly contain of three factor. First one is the systems. The second one is the users. The third one is the environment. Um, when a person interact with any systems, um, uh, he will perceive uh, different emotions and different emotions of while interacting with any applications. According to, there are many definitions of user experience. According to ISO standard, the user experience is mainly the person perception and responses resulting from the use or anticipating of any product, system, or services. Um, how we know about the user experience of the users? There are different methods are available that is developed by different researchers of academia and industry. Um, they are using a different methods and tools in order to uncover how the user feel about your product while interacting with them. Uh, these methods use different techniques, either implicit techniques or explicit techniques, in order to explore how the user feel while interacting with any product. The user experience, the users experience with the product, there are different stages of the user experience. For example, if the users think about any product before use it, we call it anticipated UX. If the user interact with the product, how it feels during the interaction with the product, we call it momentary user experience. Um, there is another one, is episodic user experience. Episodic means after using the product, how the user feel after using that product. Um, we can categorize those methods into three methods, like observational method, self-reporting method, and we can also use the physiological measurement in order to know how the users feel about your product during, before, and after interacting with the product. These are there are many methods are available in the literature, uh, but all these methods have many problems. Some have uh, errors while collecting the data. Some have biasness involved while collecting the user experience data, and some techniques require too much efforts while uh, extracting the user experience data. And some methods can only be applied with the high fidelity prototype. They are unable to extract the user experience with the low fidelity. And some methods can only extract the basic emotion of the user experience, and most of the methods that is based on the questionnaires, they have subjective in nature, uh, because none of the method cannot extract the overall we call holistic user experience. It's unable to extract the complete holistic user experience with using a single method, so that the people these is trying to combining different methods in order to extract more comprehensive results. uh, in the user experience domain, there are two types of data. One is qualitative data, the second one is a qualitative data. If you combining the different methods that is come from qualitative, that is under the category of qualitative and qualitative data, if we combining all these methods, we can better understand about the user experience of any product. Uh, if we combining a different method, we are also able to get the holistic user experience. We can also know about how the user think before any product, and we can also get the user experience during using the product. We can also get the user experience after using the product, and we can also collect the overall experience over the time. Uh, these are the some techniques that I have already explained. We can categorize into the three basic categories: explicit, implicit, observational, that can collect the qualitative and quantitative data. These are the some techniques that I listed that is related to the MAR and VR domain. For example, with the help of questionnaires, we can get the physical and mental effort of the users using a NASA TLX is a kind of questionnaires. If you wanted to know about the VR sickness in the AR VR domain, we can use these other techniques. In the implicit way, we can also use different sensors like GSR, EEG, and eye tracking to get the implicit data of the user experience. Yeah. And we can also use observational techniques to check how the user performed the task with a different tracker. Like we can also check with the help of camera. These are the observational technique methods. This is the example of time span. I early mentioned about the time span of the users. In the time span, there's a different type of user experience data. For example, if the user is wanted to use any product, before usage, the user has some perception about that product, because for example, the user is excited to use that product. The user may perceive while the user think about the touch control of the, for example, in AR VR controller. Uh, the time span of the user experience can change. For example, before usage, the user experience may be higher of the toward that particular product. After using that product, maybe that product will not fulfill the expectation of the user, so that after using any product, the user experience can be changed, because that product will not fulfill his user user expectation. Um, Based on these mixed method approach, our lab developed a platform we call LeanUX platform. In the LeanUX platform, we utilizing the AI technology to uncover the user emotional experience. Uh, Here, we are using a multimodal data that is collected from different sensors. Uh, we are collecting a user emotion with the webcam. We are also collecting the user emotions from mic using a voice data. We are also collecting EEG data in order to know how uh, the user cognition level. We are also collecting the interaction data, and also collecting the eye tracking data where the user is looking at the particular time. This is the overview of the Linux platform. In the Linux platform, you are using different methods and techniques by acquiring the complete picture of the user emotional experience. First, we collect the multimodal data, and then we, using a AI technology, to extract the user emotion, user cognition, and also the user interaction data. And then based on these measurements, we provide analytics to the end user, to the UX expert. So the UX expert will know how the user feel about the particular product. For example, this is a digital, for example, if the some company want to evaluate their product like games, they will invite the participant and they will use our platform. With that platform, will provide a comprehensive result of the user experience in the form of different analytics. The UX expert can check those results and provide a feedback to the developer, so that the developer can change the product according to the user experience, real user experience of the. This is the stepwise overview of the Linux platform. Here you can see that uh, 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 actually the Linux platform will be work in the laboratory setting. Uh, this is the participant. We install all the sensors on the in the lab, and where all the sensor by the participant, and the participant interact with the application, and our system automatically collect multimodal data, and then based on different AI technology, we extract the user emotion, cognition, and also the interaction data, and also the eye tracking data. We also acquire the collect the self-reporting data using a questionnaire techniques. After collecting, recognizing those emotions, and we get the output, and we get those output can be inputted into the UX matrix, because everything that we measure from the user in the form of matrix, and then we extract the UX EI index. Because we developed the user experience index, it will automatically quantify the overall user experience in the range from 0 to 100, so that the UX expert can easily measure the overall user experience of the product. And then we provide different analytics to the end user, so that the UX expert, so the UX expert can check those results and provide a feedback to the developer, so the developer can change the product according to the those results. This is a stepwise process how we can collect the data. This is and how the individual component recognize emotion, cognition, and other metrics, and then how those output can be input into the UX matrix in order to measure the user experience index. And then we provide the visualization to the UX expert, so that based on those visualization, the UX expert can decide which task and which which are the pain point area that need to be improved based on these data. This is the platform overview. Now, based on our experience, we by developing the Linux product, we face many challenges. The first one is the context, and the second one is the method curation. The third one is the change management, because I already mentioned that the context have three main factors: environment, user, and system. While evaluating any product, there are heterogeneity, different group of the users that is interact with your system, and also the environment can also be affected. The data collection, while collecting the data, if the environment is changed, it will affect the data collection while evaluating any product. And also the method curation, how we can identify which method is the suitable according to the context of use, how we can select those methods, what will be the integration point, because if we collecting data from different methods, how we can integrate those methods to acquire the true user experience. And if there is change occurred, how we can manage those change. In order to resolve those challenges, we proposed one process we called Lean UX process that can we define a process, lean process, for applying, evaluating a comprehensive user experience for any application. Is currently, especially we are targeting mixed augmented MAR and VR application, but this method process can be applied to any application while evaluating user experience. This process can be applied before, during, after the usage. I already mentioned the time span of the user experience, so that this method can be applicable to the any time span of the user experience. Why we need this process? Because due to the context variability, this process can handle the change while if there is any change occurred during evaluation process, so that this process can cater those changes. Based on this process, we propose a standard, because we would like to standardize the mixed method evaluation process, so that we need a process that can standardize the mixed method approach that can cater the change, during the evaluation process. We are involved in the standardization process also. We already submitted a standard to the SC42. SC42 standardization is mainly focused on the computer graphics, image processing.
I think you mean SC24.
SC24. Sorry, this is SC24, not. And it can also support for the mixed method, mixed and augmented reality MAR. We are mainly working on the working group 9, that is mainly focused on the augmented reality. We already submitted NWIP, but they gave us some changes. Currently, we are going to submit a technical specification by this month. The scope of this standard will be covered how we can select the appropriate multimodal, multi-method UX evaluation methods in MAR domain. That process can be used for evaluating the user experience during any stage of the software development process. It can be applicable to the software development. For example, if some company wanted to develop the MAR product, this process can also be applicable during the software development cycle also. There is some constraint. For example, the availability of the UX methods. For example, if there is a lot of available UX method or available that can be applicable to the MAR domain, and also the experience evaluator. I will cover all those things in the next slides. And after applying these Lean UX process, we can enhance the overall user experience of any interactive system. These are the benefits. If we apply this process, we can collect multi-dimensional data, because we are targeting different methods, multi-methods. We call mixed methods. If we apply a mixed method, we can get the multi-dimensional data. And also, if we apply multi-methods, one method can reinforce the other methods. For example, if we collect the same data, same kind of data from different methods, so that it can reinforce and other methods. And it can also reduce the subjectivity, because most of the methods, there is subjectivity or involved. If we apply multi-methods in the evaluation process, it will remove the subjectivity, and it will also improve the overall user experience. And we can collect the precise information about the users, because we are using a multi-methods. We can get them more information about individuals while interacting your product. Um, for the Linux process, we define 5 principles. Based on these principles, we define the process we call conformance criteria. These are the 5 principles. The first principle is that the Linux evaluation in MER is based upon the mixed method approach. If you apply, if you want to know about the user experience of your customers or users, we have to apply a mixed method approach. This is the first principle. And selection of method is based on evaluation constraint. I will explain those things in the next slides, coming slides, because there is many constraints are involved while we evaluating any product. These constraints can be financial constraint. These constraints can be legal constraint. So based on those constraints, we would like to select the methods, appropriate methods. And the third one is the mixed method approach is based on context of use. The context of use should be considered while applying the mixed method approach. The evaluation process addresses the holistic user experience. Because we are using a mixed method approach, it will automatically address the holistic user experience by considering all the time span of the users. The evaluation process should support change. This is the first principle. If we apply a mixed method approach, we will cover the subjective data and also objective data of the user. By using qualitative and quantitative study, we will involve different stakeholders by taking into account different stakeholders in order to know about the holistic user, understanding the holistic view of the user emotion, how the user interact with the system, how the user feel while interacting the system, how the user react. So this is the honeycomb of the user experience. And the second principle is the selection of method based on evaluation constraint. I already mentioned that while selecting the method of user experience, there are different constraints. This constraint may be a legal constraint. For example, if some company want to evaluate their product, maybe there is some privacy issue. We can't apply the methods that can that have some privacy issue. For example, data access issue. For example, if we apply a camera-based observational methods, for example, if some company has some legal issue in order to record the environment, so that we can change the evaluation method based on those constraints. For example, some methods require large number of participants, so that we would like to avoid those methods based on those constraints. Maybe there is, for example, if there is a technical constraint, for example, there is no internet connectivity, for example, there is a hardware availability, so that we will take care of those constraints while selecting the user experience methods in the using a mixed method approach. The second one is the context of use. We have to take care of the context of use while while evaluating the user experience process. Because context of use involve user, system, and environment. For example, in some environment, some method will not be appropriate, so that based on the context of use, we will change the methods accordingly. For example, some user will unable to use those methods uh, while collecting the data related to the user experience. So we need to change the method according to the user also. We need to take care about the context of use while using a mixed method approach. We have to select the methods according to the context of use. And also we need to address the holistic user experience. We have to cater about all those experience that I mentioned: anticipated UX, momentary UX, episodic UX, and holistic UX. We need to take care of the time span. We have to check what is the user experience at the first time, while what was and what is the momentary user experience while interacting with the user, and we have to take care about the episodic user experience. In order to get the quality result of the user experience, we have to check all, we have to cater all those user experience while evaluating the user experience of any product. And also the user experience evaluation should support change. For example, if changes occurred in the context of use, for example, if there is some change in the techniques, the process should cater those change. For example, if the requirement is changed, this process should support the change during the evaluation of any product. And based on those principles, we propose the activity of the mixed method, how this process, the mixed method approach, how we can use the mixed method approach in AR/VR domain. We proposed a 4-step design process. In the first phase, we prepare the list down all the UX evaluation method and techniques. In the second step, we design the evaluation environment. In the third phase or step, we apply all those techniques that is selected by phase 1 and 2. And then in phase 4, we evaluate the actual user experience. And this is an iterative process. This will be continue. I will explain all these phases in step by step. This is the 4-phase process: evaluate, prepare, design, apply, and evaluate. At the first step, we have to identify the set of all the evaluation methods and abstract context of use. For example, we have to identify at the particular context of use, this method will be appropriate method, so that we have to list down all the UX evaluation methods. And then in each evaluation method, there are different techniques are available. For example, these are the evaluation methods. In the questionnaire, there are different techniques are available in order to measure different factor of the user experience, like mental effort, VR6 and learnability. These are the methods and these are the techniques, so that we have to identify all those methods and available techniques in these methods. And based on these methods, we have to prioritize which techniques is the best one according to the context of use. I already mentioned these prioritization can be done based on the constraint and past experience, so that the UX expert can prioritize those techniques according to their experience and the context of use and constraint that are already mentioned. For example, in the explicit methods, NASA TLX is a high priority in order to measure the user mental and physical effort, because based on these priority, so that the UX expert can assign different priority, high, low, and medium, based on the context of use and availability of the resources. After prioritize the techniques, we identify the context of use. At the first time, the UA expert abstractly identify the context of use based on his experience. In this step, we at the real environment, what is the context of use? What are your targeted participant? What will be the system? What will be the environment where you are going to evaluate that product? You have to consider the context of use. And then based on context of use, you can revise your techniques. Which technique should be appropriable according to the context of use. If if any change is required, then we will go step the third, and this is a cyclic process. And then based on the context of use, we select the subset of techniques, because it's not possible to apply all the techniques to evaluate any product, so that we have to select some methods and techniques based on the context of use. For example, in the list of the questionnaire, we select this one, and from the physiological sensor, we select these three based on the context of use. After selecting the subset of techniques, then we prepare the actual evaluation environment, because this can be done at the lab setting environment, so that we have to prepare all these evaluation environment in order to measure the user experience based on the selected techniques. For example, these are the system is MAR system. This is the these are the participants. These are the selected evaluation methods based on the previous steps. And then we apply the UX evaluation techniques in order to collect the data. Here, in case I already mentioned the LineUX platform, we apply any system that can collect the data of the related to the user experience. In this case, we apply a LineUX platform that we have developed in the user lab. And then in the second 8th step, we extract the evaluation results, because when we collect the data, it will give us a user experience results in the form of different analytics. And then based on these results, UX results, we give a feedback to the developer, so that the developer can change the system according to those evaluation results, in order to create a more positive experience of their product. And then we will use those results as a template, because at the first time, based on those results, we know the context of use. Based on those contexts of use, we can reuse those results in order to prioritize the existing techniques. For example, if we, at the initial stage, we prioritize some techniques, but during the actual evaluation results, we found that that technique was not good, so that we can use these data in order to prioritize the technique, revise the techniques according to the context of use. And we also, this process also support, for example, if the new methods are available, so that it can accommodate the new method also. For example, in the future, due to the advancement of technology, new methods are come in, then we can also accommodate, this process can also accommodate the new method if the new method is available, so that it will add the new method, and this process will, this is a cyclic process, it will goes on. And this knowledge, actually we are also collecting the UX evaluation results that can be used to prioritize the existing methods. At the end, we also propose a conformance criteria. How we know either the MVR domain using the mixed method approach or not in the proper way, so that we develop a conformance criteria based on the design principle. These are the 5 principles that I have already discussed. Based on these principles, we develop a conformance criteria. If the conformance criteria score is greater than and is 20, it means um, the evaluation process follow this standard criteria. If it is less than 15, it means that you have to revise the UX evaluation multi-method UX evaluation process, because it's below if it's below the error, below the threshold, it means that we have to revise re-evaluate your product. This is one example how this process can work. This is a MER game, Apple Hunt, developed by in our lab. We evaluate this application using our this proposed LeanUX process method. First, we identify the set of evaluation methods. These are the techniques and available. We prioritize those techniques, and then we select the appropriate method based on the context of use, because in the real environment, the context of based on the real context of environment and system and user, we select those methods that is mostly appropriated to collect the data related to the user experience. And then these are the after selecting these methods, we prepare the evaluation environment. Based on the evaluation environment, we use our developed platform, LeanUX platform, to acquire the data, to collect the data and measure the user experience. And then based on those collected data, we evaluate the user experience in the form of results. I already mentioned we developed a UX evaluation index. If the UX evaluation index is below 50, it means the bad user experience. We call negative user experience. It should be if above 50, it means above average. If it is 80, it means good. If it is 100, it means excellent. Based on those results, we can use those results as a template to prioritize the UX methods and techniques. For example, if the result is not good, so that we have to change the methods according to the context of use. This is one example how this process can be applied to the AR/VR domain. This process can be applied. I already mentioned that to the any domain, not AR/VR domain. It can be applicable to the any application in any domain. For example, if you want to evaluate a website, you can evaluate a website. It can be used to evaluate any web application and mobile application. Based on the this process, we get 19 score. It means that during the evaluation of AR/VR game, we follow all of these principles. Based on these principles, we get 19 score. It means that we almost follow the follow the rule that follow the process that we propose. In the conclusion, I already mentioned that this process can be applicable to any domain. If we apply a mixed method approach, it can reduce the biasness, it can reduce the subjectivity, we can get the complete picture of the user experience, we can get more precise data as compared to the single method approach. And our future plan is to standardize this process in the SE24 ISO standard. We hope so it can be published soon. Thank you very much. Now the
Thank
table is
you.
open for the question.
Perfect, Jamil. Your timing was just impeccable. Covered so much material in such a little time. So fantastic, great, for you to share with us these developments and the work that you've been doing. There are a few questions. One of them is around the you spoke about the collection and the measuring of quantitative information, and you also explained how some qualitative data is taken. How do you combine those, and if or where or when are they integrated into the evaluation?
Yeah, in the Linux development projects, while designing a case study, we call case study. That is, the UX expert can create a case study. The UX expert can design the process flow. For example, at the beginning, we collect the beginning of the UX evaluation process. We create a questionnaires in order to collect the qualitative data from the users. The questionnaire can be closed-end questionnaire and open-end questionnaires. And then we also collect the quantitative data in the form of numbers using AI techniques like emotions and cognitions using different sensors. And then there are different approach to combining qualitative and quantitative data. There are different topology you're using in the UX domain. The one topology is called sequential topology. And the sequential topology means that, for example, we use the qualitative data as the qualitative data result we give to the quantitative data. Like first we perform a qualitative data and then we perform a quantitative data in the sequential topology. But in the Linux platform, we're using a hybrid topology. A hybrid topology means that hybrid topology. In the hybrid topology, we collect the qualitative data, we also collect the quantitative data, and then we are merge those data to generate a new data, more comprehensive data.
Okay.
For example, we collect the emotion of the users, and based on the emotion of the users while interacting with the system, and we ask a question from the users based on the, for example, if the user is feeling unhappy, we use that data, we ask a questions. The system automatically ask a question from the user based on this data, and then we get the qualitative data from the users in the form of free text, in the form of voice, and then we analyze those data, and then we combine with the previous data. For example, if the users say that I'm happy, you're angry because of these things while interacting with the system, so that the UX expert can combine the both data.
Okay. Thank you. I see what you're talking about. It's a cycle that you repeat, and you keep integrating the information that you receive from the user sequentially in a cycle. So there's several questions on the subject of novice users, people who have no experience using augmented reality, with very experienced AR users. Are there some methods that are better or preferred for someone that has no prior experience versus someone who has extensive experience?
Yeah, based on here you can see that I already mentioned the context of use have three
Yes.
main
Okay.
aspects. Participant, we are also looking at the background of the user. For example, if the user have already experience with the MAR application,
Okay.
and then based on his experience, we select the methods to rate that product. For example, we are using like physiological sensors to sense the immersiveness of that user for the experienced user. For example, if there is a novice user, we can use a questionnaires in order to get the user experience of that person. So that
Okay.
based on the experience of the persons, we can change the method because it will affect the UX evaluation.
Yes. Yes. And do you, let's re-examine that a little bit further. So suppose you are using these evaluations at the beginning of a project, maybe before you introduce this at a wide scale, a particular set of instructions or a design, user experience. Should you go back and repeat and evaluate again at a certain point in the future? Is that part of the method also, or?
Yeah, yes, it can cater uh, this. It can cover all those things. This process.
Yes. So it's a cycle. I see the
It's a
slide
cycle.
36, you're talking about how you can repeat this. But what I'm asking is when? I mean, do you have an idea based on your experience, how frequently or after how much time? It's one thing
It's
to say it's
depend
a
on
cycle, but
yeah.
what would you advise? What would you recommend?
It's depend on the product that we are going to evaluate. For example, if the companies wanted to know every month of their user experience of their product, then we have to repeat the cycle after month. It depend on the organization that we're going,
Okay.
the product and the organization.
Okay, but you don't have any experience at this time based on other any organizations that have used it that would
Uh,
say, this
we are
is too
using
frequent or this is not frequent enough.
because this is the research projects we are using for the
Mhm.
research purpose. This is not by used by company yet. I
Mhm.
have no
Okay.
idea how frequently this cycle should be go.
Okay. Okay. Great. And we have one more question about bias issues with artificial intelligence. um, because we know that there's a lot of uh, potential for error if there's bias in the system. Do you have any recommendations, or have you done anything to mitigate the effects
Yeah,
of
that's why we are
AI
combining.
bias? Oh,
That's why
okay.
we are combining questionnaires and the thematic implicit and explicit methods. If we combining the implicit and explicit methods, for example, we collect the user experience using implicit techniques like AI techniques, and then we also ask questions, counter questions. For example, if the user is unhappy, we ask counter questions from the users. Either you're really unhappy from this feature or functionality, so that we
Mhm.
can cater those biasness of the AI biasness.
Okay.
So that for example, if the AI system will not give a correct results, so that we can retrain the AI model to give the better performance,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
that we can also cater those things.
Okay. Good, thank you. So one last question, you know, in terms of when these questions or there are assessments being done during the experience. That, especially if you're asking people to assess their emotions, the psychophysiological assessments, how do you make them less intrusive, or how do you maintain the person's immersion while at the same time asking them to give feedback? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Actually, we are using three kind of methods in order to make the process more. First, we are not interrupting the user during the interaction with the system.
Mm-hmm.
We are using a different non-intrusive methods, like we are with the help of camera. For example, I'm talking about evaluation of website. With the help of camera, we are automatically capture the user emotion with non-intrusive way. And we, by the end, we ask a question we call post questionnaires. We, not during the time, but at the end, we ask questions so that to make it more non-intrusive way.
Mm-hmm.
And we also collecting the user's cognition with the EMG technology,
Okay.
and also EEG technology. It's a kind of non-intrusive methods without interrupting the users while interacting with the user, interacting with the system.
I understand. So you mentioned that this is not yet in wide deployment. What steps might you take, or are you taking today to get adoption of this? You know, this webinar, for example, is to inform people about the adoption, but are you working with any local companies or any international companies that want to do the adopt this method or these methods?
Yeah, actually we are there are local companies, and also there is a lab that is working on the AR/VR domain.
Yes.
We are working with that companies in order to adopt those process.
Okay, so you're supporting individuals in that adoption process to learn how to do it better. And,
right.
Very good. Thank you, Jamil, for this excellent webinar. And this is such an important topic to the success of augmented reality, of course, to VR as well. And I can see that your methods apply equally well to mass market and consumers as to enterprise customers. As you know, the enterprises are, the employees in enterprises are our primary focus. But I can see that this has very broad potential, and look forward to the progress and the adoption in the future. So thank you, everybody. This is the conclusion of the August 12th webinar, and look forward to your participation in other events organized in the future. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.